Hello again and welcome to ManchTalk. My name is Tammy Simmons. I'm glad you're joining me today. So pollen and sunshine seem to be in plenitude these days, except for the thunderstorms last night. I am taping my show on Tuesday. I have no idea what today is, 16, 17, 18. I guess today's the 19th. Tuesday the 19th. Monday night there was thunder boomers, a little bit of damage we saw up the street from our house in Ward 10, some tree limbs down. But besides the storms last night, you can't complain about the sunshine, but you can complain about the pollen. Allergies have been really bad this year. But, you know, it's still summer, and I'm happy about that. For those you probably know, Dan and I are dog owners. We adopted a rescue who we named Jenny back in December. We got her from Alabama through a website called 4dogssakerescue.org. That's 4, F-O-R, dogs sake, S-A-K-E, rescue.org. She was from Alabama and she was shipped up here, which is quite common. There's New Hampshire takes a lot of dogs in as rescues from down south, partially because we're really good about spaying and neutering our dogs up here, so we don't have tons of puppies. But down south they don't really do that, so there seems to be a lot of rescues down there and a lot of homes up here. But anyways, we adopted Jenny in December. She's a great dog, and we do our best to get her out and socialize with other people and other dogs, because she is a rescue, so she's got a little learning curve. And Dan and I have started going on early morning walks with Jenny, one, because she needs the exercise, and two, because Dan and I definitely need the exercise. And we've also been going back to the Manchester Dog Park. Now, if you're a dog owner and you haven't been to the Manchester Dog Park yet, I don't know why. It's a 10,000 square foot safe, secure place, fenced park over on 2nd Street on Bass Island. Sandy ground. There's all sorts of things for them to play in. There's tunnels for them to run through and little bridges for them to walk on. There's a shelter for the people in case it starts to rain, or if in the winter when it's snowing. There's tennis balls and frisbees and all sorts of things, and all we ask is that you help support the Manchester Dog Park Association, and that you pick up after your dog if he or she should happen to do their business in the park. While I'm at the park, I find myself telling a lot of people about how the Manchester Dog Park got started and how we physically built the dog park. And by building, I don't mean just we got it approved. I mean physically building the dog park. It took us a couple years of changing state law. We had to change state laws in order to be able to convince the Board of Mayor and Aldermen back in 2011 to allow us to build the city's first dog park on a piece of blighted city land, and obviously years go on and it's only improved. So I did some digging, pardon the pun, I did some digging this morning on the intertubes, and I found a video from way back in 2011 when we were physically building the park, and I also found a promotional video for the dog park now. So I'd like to show you where we came from and where the dog park is today.
Good morning! Isn't this fantastic out here in the dog park on this cold, sleet, rain-filled day? Happy Easter to you.
Well, thank you, and to you. So, this has been a long, strange trip.
It's been
talk about it?
It's been a saga. They didn't want us to build it. They put every roadblock they possibly could in our way, and we've overcome every one of them, and now we're out here in the rain because we're just determined to make sure this thing gets done.
For those who don't know how this worked, we decided that we wanted to build a dog park, and we wanted to build it tax-free because I don't think that people should have to pay for things that, some other members of the community might use. So it took us about 2 years to get to the point where we could get it approved by the city, and they let us have this piece of land to use. And we raised money and we paid for insurance and finally dug out, the levelness of it all, and then it started raining about 2 weeks ago. So needless to say, the gravel was delivered. If we get some of it moved today, it's that much less that we have to move another day. Next Saturday, the plan was today was supposed to be the day we were actually putting up fence. We don't even have the poles in, but you know, maybe we'll get the poles up next week and get the gravel done, and hopefully we'll be up and fully running by, I don't know, 1st of June. Well,
Now this is sort of historical property.
it is. This piece of property used to be the blacksmith shop, which was here forever and ever and ever, and it burnt down, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. So part of our plan for the dog park is when we have the fence up, the interior of the back facade is going to mimic the original blacksmith property. We'll see how that goes. We work on gravel first. Yay.
Fill in all the low spots?
Well, it's a start. They say when you find yourself in a hole, the first thing is to stop digging. Maybe the second thing is to start filling it back in again.
And what I think we should do is we should try to fill, other than filling in these low spots, I think we need to fill up the wheelbarrows and just start dumping them. But I could be wrong. Who the hell am I hearing? Oh, put so much effort into it.
He's part of the crew. Part of the ship, part of the crew.
The Manchester Dog Park Association's goal is to provide off-leash dog parks in Manchester, New Hampshire. A dog park is a very simple concept. It is a designated, fully fenced area where residents can bring dogs to play and exercise with other dogs and their owners in an off-leash environment. With the help of generous donors and friends of the park, and in cooperation with the City of Manchester, the Manchester Dog Park Association hopes to create and maintain privately funded off-leash dog parks throughout the city. Dogs love their owners unconditionally, and a lot of times, they are your best friend. They are fiercely loyal and protect us while asking for nothing in return. They are there for us at the end of a hard day and then shower us with love and attention, even if we don't deserve it. The Manchester Dog Park Association would like to repay these many acts of kindness by finally building them a place to play, a place for them to run free, a place to interact with other dogs and other people, and a place to call their own. This will be the greatest gift we can give for our four-legged friends by giving them more places to play in the city. If you are interested in joining, please contact us at our email, manchesterdogparkassociation@gmail.com, or come visit us at 344 2nd Street, Manchester, New Hampshire, 03102.
It's hard to believe that that was, what, 7 years ago. That was Easter Sunday when we were all out there in the rain shoveling gravel. You know, Phil Grazzo, who was the alderman in Ward 10 at the time, who now is a selectman over in Bedford, which is kind of funny. And went on, him and Dan Garthwaite, who's running with me for state rep again this year. Matt and Lisa Swank, who used to live in Ward 10, Matt's down in North Carolina now, Mike Ball, all sorts of great people who didn't even own dogs, who just stepped in to help volunteer to build the dog park. And it was weeks after rain, but eventually we did get the gravel down and we got the fence up and everything. And over the years, things have changed, you know, as all organizations do. And now the Manchester Dog Park Association, we went from, you know, a dirt hole with gravel to being a full-blown 501c3 nonprofit organization, and is flourishing under the chairmanship of Kevin Rue, who's a good friend and a great dog owner. And you know, Jenny loves the park, and I think if you're a dog owner, you'd love the park too. And what I've always been the most proud of with the dog park is that it was built without tax dollars, because there are things that the community can do to improve the quality of life here in Manchester, and it doesn't always have to be going to the city and asking them for money. The city generously lent us that land to build the dog park on. We cleaned it up. It was an awful, blighted lot, as you can see in that first video. And volunteers built it. We got volunteer donations, and we raised money to pay for the insurance. And now the park is fully funded with donations and membership fees. and it's a great little park. A lot of people say, oh, I go to Hooksett Dog Park, it's better. And, personally, I think Manchester Dog Park's just wonderful. 10,000 square feet where your dog can run safely and securely and play with other dogs and get socialized better. So if you would like more information about joining the Dog Park Association, you can email Manchester Dog Park Association at gmail.com. That's association spelled out. So Manchester Dog Park Association at gmail.com. Or you can email me here at the show, ManchTalk, ManchTalk at gmail.com. And I'll put you in touch with Kevin Rue, and we'll get you and your pup down to the dog park to check it out. It's always nice to look back and see successes and, remember the good times about all the hard work that went into the park and how it's doing so well these days. So that was my bit about the dog park. So if you got a dog, go on down to the dog park. This past week, the filing period for candidates running for Congress or state offices or county offices ended on Friday the 15th. The two parties that, I guess any of the parties are filling vacancies now. They can nominate people to fill vacancies up through tomorrow, Wednesday the 20th. The Secretary of State site's a little slow and backwards, so they depend on snail mail to get their lists of candidates, which is kind of crazy, but that's a whole different topic. Luckily here in Manchester, the city clerk's office is much more automated and on top of things, so they're able to provide us with an unofficial list of the people who have filed for office for state rep here in candidate. And I thought I'd go over some of that list quickly with you. In Ward 1, on the Republican side, Andrew Fromuth is running, and the Democrats have a three-way primary for 2 seats: Christine Siebert, Diane Langley, and incumbent Jeff Goley. In Ward 2, Anthony Pugh, who's run as a Republican before, and Doug Whitfield, who's also run in the past, will be facing the winner in that Democratic primary in Ward 2 between Israel Pedra, Linda DeSilvestra, who's the incumbent, and Thomas Evans. So there'll be a Democrat primary in Wards 1 and 2. Moving on to Ward 3, Holly Bean Seal and Daniel Heck will be running on the Republican side against Jean Judy and Pat Long, both incumbents on the Democrat side. And in Ward 3, there is a Libertarian candidate, Nicholas Martin Golroff. So no primaries in Ward 3. In Ward 4, there are 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats vying for 2 seats. So there'll be a Republican on both sides of that. Mikey Levis, Gene Matthew, and Colin Gibson are all running on the Republican side. And Donald Bouchard, Daniel Cuevas, and Nicole Klein, all new names to me, running on the Democrat side. So there'll be a 2-sided primary in Ward 4. In Ward 5, Lisa Freeman, the incumbent, is running for re-election. And on the Democrat side, Amanda Bolden, who is the incumbent, and her husband, Andrew Bolden, will both be running for the Democrats. Ward 6, Larry Gagne and Kirk McConville will again be running. Larry is the incumbent, and looks like they're just facing, so far, one Democrat, Kathy Desjardins, also a new name there in Ward 6. In Ward 7, Andreas Reif is taking another stab at the state rep seat in Ward 7 on the Republican side, and there will be a primary on the Democrat side. Roger Francoeur, Mary Heath, and Mary Friedis, the 2 Marys, are the incumbents, and Roger's challenging them for the 2 seats there in Ward 7. In Ward 8, Mark Warden and I believe Angel Brisson will be running on the Republican side versus Erica Connors, who's the incumbent on the Democrat side in Ward 8. Mark Warden is a former state rep, I believe, from Goffstown back in 2011. My first term he served as well. May have actually served in a term before I served. But regardless, he used to serve when he lived in Goffstown, and now has bought a home and lives down there in Ward 8 and is running for state rep there. Ward 9, Victoria Sullivan is the incumbent, and she'll be joined by Tom Robert on the Republican side, and the Democrats have 4 folks running for 2 seats. Barbara Shaw, who's the incumbent, will face Nick Levasseur, who I think may have even served before, Jason LeMay, and Joshua Query. So that's a 4 people running for 2 seats in the Democrat primary in Ward 9. In Ward 10, I'm going to run again, and Dan Garthwaite will be running for state rep with me, and we'll be facing the incumbent Tim Smith and Heidi Hamer. Tim Smith served a couple terms up there. Heidi's, I don't believe, ever run for state rep before. But that's Ward 10. There'll be no primaries. Ward 11, no primary on the Republican side. We've got Joshua Holmes, who's run before, and Brittany Ping running on the Republican side. And then on the Democrat side, there's a primary between Patricia Cornell, who's the incumbent, Willis Griffith, and Matthew Ping. So Matthew and Brittany are husband and wife. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat. So that'll be interesting. Ward 12, Dick Marston's looking to retake his seat that he served in before, and he's joined by newcomer Patrick Sweeney, who's a millennial and running up there in Ward 12 as a Republican. On the Democratic side, Bob Backus and Kendall Snow, two old-timers. No primaries in Ward 12. In the floterial districts, in the 1, 2, 3 floterial, Philip Harris and Joseph LaChance will be running on the Republican side. And on the Democrat side, there'll be a primary. Matthew Wilhelm, Jacqueline Cratian, and Jesse Martineau will have a primary in the 1, 2, 3 floterial. In the 4, 5, 6, 7 floterials, no primaries. On the Republican side, Michael Garcia, Ross Terrio, and Jason Hodgson. On the Democrat side, Richard Comey, Chris Herbert, and Ben Baruti. In the 8-9 Litchfield floterial, this is one where I'm not 100% who's running because this is the Secretary of State that would provide us with the Litchfield names. But from Manchester, Representatives Mark Prue and Mark McLean will both be running as Republicans, and so far they're facing Candace Moulton as a Democrat. In the last floterial, the West Side 10, 11, 12, on the Republican side, Scott Ike and Carlos Gonzalez will be the Republicans. There'll be a primary. On the Democrat side, Connie Van Houten and Jane Bulio are the incumbents, and they'll face Chloe Sowers. And there's also a Libertarian, Alex Avery, running for that floterial. So lots of names, lots of new names, lots of old names. There's, interestingly enough, New Hampshire Public Radio did a piece about absences at the State House, talking about how in this past term there seemed to be more absences than normal, although if you really look at the historical numbers, it doesn't actually seem to be that much worse than it is in every year. Being a state rep, you know, you only make $10 or $100 a year before taxes, so 80 some dollars. You do get paid mileage for traveling, and you get free tolls, but that's pretty much it. So it is truly, truly a citizen legislature. And I realize that people have to work. You know, people have their families to take care of and whatnot. But, you know, if you're going to run and serve the people, you should do your best to make sure that you're in attendance. The data that New Hampshire Public Radio had for 2018 was that the average attendance for a floor vote was 330. Now there's 400 seats, so 330 seemed to be the average attendance. The high attendance for the year was 354. The low was 272. 13 representatives missed at least 75% of this year's roll calls, because attendance is really based on roll calls. It's the only way to actually know, other than when people actually sign out as excused, who was there and who wasn't. 34 representatives had perfect attendance, and 60% of the votes were decided by a margin of error less than the number of legislators absent. So if more legislators had been in attendance, some of the some bills may have gone the other way. In particular, the school choice bill. There's a few bills that might have gone the other way. In Manchester, the Republican reps are pretty good about attendance. Kathy Souza was the only Republican who was absent more than 7% of the roll call votes. On the Democrat side, however, my own state rep, Tim Smith, he was absent 59% of the time last year in 2018. This means more than half of the time, Hillsborough 17 was underrepresented. I get the whole thing about jobs and family. I served. I know, you know, it can be a challenge to always be there. But when you're absent more often than you're present, maybe it's time to think about whether you should be asking the voters to send you back yet again. To do what? Not be there? I just don't think it's a great thing. So I'm glad to give people in Ward 10, myself and Dan Garthwaite, an opportunity to vote for people who will actually attend and be there to represent them. Another Democrat, Kendall Snow, who was elected in the floterial, the 1, 2, 3 floterial back in 2016. In 2017, he was absent 60% of the time, and then he resigned in late 2017, leaving that floterial seat with an open seat for the rest of the term. And then apparently he must have moved from wherever he lived over to Ward 12, and now he's asking the people of Ward 12 to vote him in even though the last time his record showed that he was absent more often than he was there, and then he resigned. So I think the people in Ward 12 have better choices. They could vote for Dick Marston or Patrick Sweeney and know that those people will be there to represent them. So that's the candidates coming up. I'm sure as weeks come forward, I'll have more information about that. But I did want to go over some things that are going on. The farmers market starts this Thursday in Stanton Park or Stanton Plaza. That's put on by In Town Manchester, and it's every Thursday, 3 to 6:30. Throughout the summer. You can get more information at intownmanchester.com. They'll also be starting up their free concert series, which takes place on Thursday evenings in Veterans Park. In conjunction with In Town Manchester, Recycled Percussion will be having a concert on Saturday, June 30th. You can get more information, and tickets are available through intownmanchester.com. You can click on Summerfest 2018 at the top of the page and get more information about that. On Thursday, July 10th, Out of the Box Tours will host a ghost stroll through Manchester. I thought that was kind of interesting. You can explore the grim and ghastly deeds of downtown Manchester and escape into the past as an offbeat licensed guide provides you with an eerie yet fun-filled adventure. It's about 1.5 miles long and takes about 75 to 90 minutes, involving walking hills and stairs. It is $16 per person, and you can get more information at outoftheboxnh.com. Now, if you've never kayaked before, or if you kayak but you just don't own your own kayak, you can rent a kayak for the day on the Merrimack River for just $18 if you visit cooptopia.com. That's Couptopia, cooptopia.com. Edgewater Canoe and Kayak is located just north of the dam in Hooksett on Edgewater Drive, which is a road that's just past the bridge that goes over to College Park Drive. It's directly across from the Hooksett Dog Park. Again, cooptopia.com, $18 a day for an entire day on the Merrimack River in a rented kayak. There's also great discounts on Cooptopia for places like Exo on Elm, and there's $10 off tickets to the Manchester Brewfest, which takes place on Saturday, July 28th in Veterans Park, and the proceeds from that benefit New Horizons. Lastly, if you're looking for a place to take a walk and explore here in Manchester, you can check out Cedar Swamp Preserve. I've done bits about that earlier this year. They're located on Countryside Boulevard, which I believe is off of Hackett Hill Road in the upper west corner of the city in Ward 12. Right now, the rhododendron loop trail should be still in bloom and be gorgeous. There's tons of evergreens and rhododendrons. It's a 1.6 mile walk. It's moderate. There's, it's very kid friendly. You can get more information on the Cedar Swamp Preserve and the rhododendron loop trail on a couple places. You can go to alltrails.com and search for New Hampshire and search for Manchester, and there's all sorts of great trails there. Or you can visit Nature Conservancy that runs that trail at nature.org. As always, you can email me with suggestions for shows, questions about anything I talked about. You can just tell me you don't like me. I don't care. I have pretty thick skin. You can, I'll answer just about anything that anybody asks. My email is manchtalk@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Facebook at ManchTalk. That's all I have for this week. I'm looking forward to getting out again into the beautiful outdoors that we have right here in and around Manchester. I hope you do the same, and I will see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.